You've got 5 seconds to tell me why you're in my bed before I put a bullet in your skull. The voice cut through Aisha's fog like shattered glass. Her eyes snapped open to blinding chandelier light. Silk sheets tangled around her trembling body. The room spun in lazy circles. Velvet curtains, marble floors, and gun cases mounted on mahogany walls like twisted artwork. She bolted upright, clutching the crimson sheets to her chest. Standing at the foot of the massive bed was a man who looked carved from shadows and steel. 26, maybe 27, with ink-black hair and a face that belonged on ancient coins, beautiful and merciless. Dragon tattoos coiled across his bare chest like living smoke, their eyes seeming to track her every breath. The gun in his hand never wavered. I don't know how I got here. Her voice cracked like autumn leaves. Please, I swear I didn't mean. For seconds. His accent carried the weight of old money and fresh blood. Korean, she realized dimly. Everything about him screamed power, from the way he held himself like a blade ready to strike, to the casual cruelty in his cold dark eyes. I was drugged. The words tumbled out in a desperate rush. At the club, my drink, someone spiked it. I remember the room spinning, then nothing until now. He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive that couldn't quite mask the underlying scent of gunpowder and danger. What club? Neon Dreams. Downtown. I went with my roommate Sarah for her birthday, but she left with some guy and Aisha's words died as his expression shifted. Not softer, but calculating. Neon Dreams is 3 miles from here. His voice dropped to a whisper that somehow felt more threatening than shouting. You expect me to believe you stumbled through my security, past 12 armed guards, through 3 locked doors, and into my private quarters by accident. Before I tell you what happened, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna and comment where you're watching from. The room felt smaller suddenly, as if the walls were closing in. Aisha's gaze darted to the windows, floor-to-ceiling glass revealing a sprawling city far below. They were high up, too high to jump, too high to scream for help. I know how it sounds, she whispered, but I'm telling the truth. I don't even know your name. Something flickered across his features, surprise, maybe, or disbelief. He lowered the gun slightly, but didn't holster it. Minjun, he said after a long moment. And you are?
Aisha.
She pulled the sheets higher, suddenly aware of how little she was wearing. Her dress from the night before was nowhere to be seen. Aisha Chun. Minjun's eyes narrowed.
Chun.
Chinese? Half. My mother was Korean, actually. Kim Myeong. She watched his face for any recognition, but found only that same predatory stillness. He moved to a leather chair positioned like a throne at the room's center, settling into it with fluid grace. The gun rested on his thigh, fingers still near the trigger. Tell me about last night. Everything you remember. Aisha closed her eyes, trying to piece together fragments through the chemical haze clouding her memory. Sarah ordered drinks while I was in the bathroom. When I came back, mine tasted off. Bitter. But she said it was just a new cocktail, something with absinthe. What time? Maybe 11? Midnight? Time got weird after that. She opened her eyes to find him studying her with uncomfortable intensity. There was a man watching us from the VIP section. Older, with silver hair and a scar here. She touched her left temple. Minjun's entire body went rigid. Describe him. Tall, expensive suit. He kept whispering to his bodyguards and pointing at our table. Sarah thought he was cute, but something about him made my skin crawl. Kong Saiwan. The name fell from his lips like a curse. He stood abruptly, beginning to pace with the restless energy of a caged wolf. That bastard drugged you. You know him? He's dead. Minjun's voice carried absolute certainty. Question is why he wanted you here. Aisha's stomach lurched. Here? You think he did this on purpose? Saiwan doesn't move without reason. If he drugged you and somehow got you past my security. He stopped pacing, those dark eyes boring into her. What aren't you telling me? Nothing. I work at a bookstore, for God's sake. I read romance novels and eat ramen for dinner. What could I possibly? Everyone has secrets. He moved closer again, and Aisha caught a glimpse of scars along his ribs, bullet wounds, knife marks, a roadmap of violence across perfect skin. Some just hide them better. The silence stretched between them like a held breath. Outside, Seoul's neon lights painted the dawn sky in artificial rainbows, but inside this room, everything felt suspended in amber. "You're not going to kill me," Aisha said suddenly. It wasn't a question. Minjun's eyebrow arched. "Bold assumption. If you were, you would have done it already. You've had 10 minutes and plenty of opportunities." She met his gaze steadily, surprising herself with her own courage. "So, what do you want?" A smile ghosted across his lips, there and gone so quickly she might have imagined it. "Smart girl." He moved to the nightstand, pulling out a black silk robe. "Put this on. We're going to have a much longer conversation, and I prefer my interrogations fully clothed." Aisha caught the robe, the fabric like liquid shadow in her hands. "Interrogation? Someone wanted you in my bed, Aisha-chan. Until I know why, you're not leaving this room." His voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "Consider yourself my guest." "Guest?" She laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You mean prisoner." "I mean protected." He holstered the gun at last, but somehow that made him more dangerous, not less. Kong Saiwin is many things, but subtle isn't one of them. If he went to this much trouble to put you here, others will come looking. Others who won't ask questions before they shoot. The robe slipped from her numb fingers. "This is insane. I don't know anything about your world. I just want to go home." "Your world ended the moment you woke up in my bed." Minjun moved to the door, his hand on the handle. "The question now is whether you survive long enough to see the next one." He paused, looking back at her one final time. "Get dressed, Aisha. When I return, you're going to tell me everything about last night. Every detail, every face, every word you remember. Because somewhere in that drugged haze is the key to keeping us both alive." The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like a cell locking. Aisha stared at the black robe, her hands shaking as the reality crashed over her in waves. She was trapped in a Mafia Lord's bedroom, wearing nothing but silk sheets and terror, while somewhere out there, dangerous men plotted moves in a game she didn't understand. But the most terrifying part wasn't the gun or the threats or even the casual way he'd spoken about death. It was the fact that for one impossible moment, when he'd smiled, she'd felt safer than she had in years. "Strep." Aisha's blood turned to ice. Minjun stood in the doorway, arms crossed, his expression carved from granite. "Excuse me? You heard me. Every piece of clothing off. Now." He stepped inside, closing the door behind him with deliberate slowness. "If Saiwin planted a tracking device, I need to find it." Her fingers tightened on the silk robe. "You can't be serious." "Dead serious." He moved to a mahogany desk, pulling out what looked like a handheld scanner. "I've had 3 hours to think about how you bypassed my security. The math doesn't add up unless someone helped you from the inside. I told you I was drugged, and I told you Saiwin doesn't move without reason." The scanner beeped as he calibrated it. "My penthouse is 47 floors up. Biometric locks, motion sensors, armed guards every 6 feet. You didn't stumble past all that in a drugged stupor." Aisha's mind raced. The way he spoke, clinical and detached, made her skin crawl. But something in his posture suggested this wasn't about violation, it was about survival. "Turn around," she said finally. His eyebrow arched. "I've seen everything already." Heat flooded her cheeks. "What do you mean?" "You were unconscious for 6 hours. I had to check for weapons, injuries, anything that might." He stopped, jaw clenching. "I'm not a monster, Aisha. I didn't touch you." The relief that crashed through her was so intense, she nearly sobbed. Instead, she turned her back and let the robe fall. The scanner's electronic whine filled the silence as he worked methodically. Arms, torso, legs. Professional. Impersonal. Nothing like the heated looks he'd been giving her all morning. "Clean," he announced. "You can dress." She pulled the robe back on, hands shaking. "So what now?" You believe me? I believe you're not carrying surveillance. He set the scanner aside, studying her with those predator's eyes. But someone wanted you here, and until I know who and why, you're not leaving. A knock interrupted them. Minjun's entire demeanor shifted, hand moving instinctively toward his concealed weapon. Boss. The voice was deep, respectful. Jinho wants to speak with you. Send him in. The man who entered was built like a bulldozer, broad shoulders, scarred knuckles, and a face that had seen too many fights. But his eyes held intelligence, and when he looked at Aisha, she caught something unexpected. Concern. This is Taesung, Minjun said. My head of security, and the man whose job depends on explaining how you got past him. Taesung bowed slightly to Aisha before addressing Minjun in rapid Korean. The only words she caught were Siwon and what sounded like cursing. English, Minjun commanded sharply. She has a right to hear this. Surveillance footage shows Miss Chen entering the building at 2:17 a.m. Taesung's accent was thick, but his English precise. But the elevator she used, it was programmed with an override code. Master level access. Minjun went very still. Who has master codes?
You. Me.
Jinho. And Taesung's expression darkened. Hyunwoo. My cousin. Minjun's voice dropped to a whisper. The cousin who's been asking too many questions about my business lately. Aisha's stomach nodded. Someone in your own family set this up? Family is just another word for betrayal opportunity. He pulled out his phone, fingers flying over the screen. Taesung, I want Hyunwoo here, in 1 hour. And find out where Siwon is hiding. Already dead, boss. Found him in the harbor this morning. 3 bullets, execution style. The phone slipped from Minjun's fingers, clattering to the marble floor. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked genuinely shaken. What does that mean? Aisha asked. It means someone's playing a much bigger game than I realized. He retrieved his phone, jaw tight. And you're the pawn they used to start it. Taesung cleared his throat. Boss, there's more. The girl from the club, Sarah, she's been asking questions. Showed up at Neon Dreams this morning looking for her friend. Bring her here. Is that wise? Taesung glanced meaningfully at Aisha. If she sees Miss Chen, she'll see that her friend is alive and protected. Minjun's tone brooked no argument. Do it. After Taesung left, silence stretched between them like a drawn bow. Aisha sank into the leather chair, overwhelmed by the casual way they discuss life and death. You killed him, she said quietly. Siwon.
No.
Minjun moved to the window, hands clasped behind his back. But I would have. The fact that someone beat me to it means they're cleaning up loose ends. And I'm a loose end. Your evidence. He turned, and something in his expression made her breath catch. Evidence that someone wanted me distracted, vulnerable. The question is what they plan to do while my attention is on you. Heat crept up her neck at the implication. Your attention? You think I brought you to my private bedroom by accident? His smile was sharp as broken glass. I haven't let a woman in here for 3 years. This room is my sanctuary, my fortress. And somehow, you ended up in my bed. The weight of his gaze made her pulse race. There was something hungry in the way he looked at her, something that had nothing to do with interrogation and everything to do with the silk sheets still rumpled behind her. What happened last night? The question tumbled out before she could stop it. After I was unconscious, I mean. His jaw clenched. Nothing. You're lying. I don't lie to people under my protection. But you're not telling the truth either. She stood, moving closer despite every instinct screaming at her to run. There's something you're not saying. For a heartbeat, his mask slipped. She saw heat flash in his dark eyes, saw the way his gaze dropped to her lips before snapping back up. You want the truth? His voice was rough velvet. I sat in that chair all night watching you sleep, making sure you were breathing, making sure you were safe. Why? Because the moment I saw you in my bed, everything changed. The confession seemed torn from him. I've built my life on control, on keeping everyone at arm's length. And then there you were, vulnerable, trusting, looking at me like I was human instead of monster. If you do the same thing, subscribe to Mystic Tale by Luna, and tell me where you're watching from. The air between them crackled with tension. Aisha could feel the pull, the dangerous magnetism that had probably killed smarter women than her. But beneath the predator's grace, she sensed something else. Loneliness. The kind that ate you alive from the inside. "I should be terrified of you," she whispered. "You should be." He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his body heat. "I've killed more people than you've met. I own judges, politicians, half the police force. Cross me, and you disappear." "Then why don't I feel afraid?" His control cracked completely. One moment they were standing apart, the next his hands were in her hair, his mouth crushing down on hers with desperate hunger. She tasted danger and dark promises, felt the barely leashed violence in the way he held her. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. "This is insane," she gasped. "Completely." His thumb traced her lower lip. "You should run."
Where?
"You said yourself, I can't leave." "I could arrange it. Fake your death, new identity, fresh start anywhere in the world." His voice was raw. "It would be safer for both of us." Instead of answering, she kissed him again. This time softer, questioning. He responded like a man starving, all restraint crumbling under the weight of want. They tumbled back onto the silk sheets, hands exploring, boundaries dissolving. Outside, Seoul hummed with life, but inside this room, time stopped. The untouchable Mafia Lord was touched, let someone past his walls for the first time in years. Later, minutes or hours, neither could say, they lay tangled together in the aftermath. Minjun traced patterns on her bare shoulder, his expression unreadable. "This changes nothing," he said quietly. "I know. You're still in danger. Still under my protection. I know. And when this is over, when I find out who's behind this, you'll still need to disappear." She turned to face him, noting the vulnerability he tried to hide. "Do you want me to disappear?" The question hung between them like a blade. Before he could answer, his phone buzzed urgently. He grabbed it, scanning the message with growing tension. "What is it?" Aisha asked. "Jin Ho's dead. A car bomb 20 minutes ago." He was already reaching for his clothes. "And Hyunwoo never showed up for our meeting." Fear iced through her. "What does that mean?" "It means whoever's behind this just declared war." He pulled on his shirt, movements sharp and efficient. "And they're not planning to take prisoners." The door burst open. Taesung entered, face grim, followed by two men she didn't recognize. "Boss, we need to move."
Now.
Intel suggests they're planning to hit the penthouse within the hour. Minjun was already strapping on weapons, guns, knives, things she didn't want to identify. The transformation from lover to killer was seamless and terrifying. "Aisha, get dressed. We're leaving." She scrambled for her clothes, mind reeling. "Where are we going?" "Safe house. Off the grid." He paused at the door, looking back at her with something like regret. "I'm sorry you got pulled into this." "Are you?" The question surprised them both. His smile was ghost thin. "Ask me again when we're both still alive." They moved through the penthouse like shadows, Minjun's men forming a protective circle around her. At the elevator, he hesitated. "Sir?" Taesung prompted. "Change of plans." Minjun's voice was ice-cold calculation. "Take her to the boat. I'll meet you there." "What?" Aisha grabbed his arm. "You're not coming? Someone needs to send a message. Let them know what happens when they threaten what's mine." The possessiveness in his voice made her shiver. "Don't do this. Don't leave me." For a moment, his mask slipped again. He cupped her face in his hands, thumb brushing away a tear she didn't realize had fallen. "I'll find you," he promised. "No matter what happens, I'll find you." The elevator doors closed between them like a final curtain. 3 weeks later, Aisha stared at the pregnancy test in her trembling hands. 3 pink lines stared back. Unmistakable, undeniable, impossible. Triplets. She sank onto the bathroom floor of the safe house, Minjun's promise echoing in her memory. He'd found her, just as he'd sworn. Found her and claimed her and marked her in ways that went deeper than skin. Now she carried living proof of that night, 3 tiny hearts beating inside her, each one a secret that could destroy them all. Outside, footsteps approached. Heavy, familiar, dangerous. He was coming. You dare carry my children in secret? The hospital room door slammed against the wall as Minjun stormed in, flanked by 2 men in black suits. Dr. Park scrambled backward, clipboard clattering to the floor, while the ultrasound technician froze with a wand still pressed to Aisha's gel-covered belly. Aisha's heart hammered against her ribs. 3 weeks of hiding, 3 weeks of planning escape routes and fake identities, all shattered in an instant. How did you find me? I own this hospital. His voice was deadly quiet, the kind of calm that preceded hurricanes. Did you really think you could hide from me in my own city? The ultrasound screen still showed 3 tiny forms, hearts beating in frantic rhythm. Minjun's gaze fixed on the images, his expression shifting from fury to something unreadable. Triplets, Dr. Park whispered, apparently deciding medical facts were safer than silence. Get out. Minjun never looked away from the screen. All of you. Now. The medical staff fled like startled birds. Only Taesung remained, posted by the door like a granite statue. Sir, the car is ready whenever. Outside, Taesung. The big man hesitated, then bowed and left. The door clicked shut, sealing them in suffocating tension. 12 weeks, Minjun said, moving closer to the examination table. You've known for 12 weeks and said nothing. Aisha wiped the gel from her stomach with shaking hands, trying to sit up with whatever dignity she could muster in a hospital gown. I was protecting them. From me? The question cracked like a whip. From your world. From bullets and bombs and people who think pregnant women are acceptable casualties. She swung her legs over the side of the table, facing him. You said it yourself, I'm evidence a loose end. What did you think would happen when they found out about this? His jaw clenched. You should have told me. So you could what? Lock me in a gilded cage? Use me as bait. Her voice rose despite her fear. I've seen what you do to people who become inconvenient. You think I would hurt you? I think you would do whatever serves your interests. The words tasted like ash. Just like you did that night. Something dangerous flickered in his eyes. That night was mutual. Don't rewrite history to justify betrayal. Betrayal? She laughed bitterly. You're not my husband, Minjun. You're barely even. I'm the father of your children. Each word was precisely enunciated, sharp as surgical steel. That makes you mine, whether you accept it or not. The possessiveness in his tone made her skin crawl and her pulse race in equal measure. Even now, even terrified, part of her responded to the dark magnetism that had pulled her into his orbit. I won't let you control me. Control? He stepped closer, crowding her space. Is that what you think this is about? Isn't it? This is about survival. His hand moved to rest on her still flat stomach, and she fought not to flinch at the unexpected gentleness. Mine, yours, theirs. Every moment you're outside my protection is a moment someone can use you against me. And every moment I'm with you makes me a target. At least with me, you're a defended target. His thumb traced small circles over the hospital gown. Do you have any idea what I did to the last person who threatened something of mine? The quiet menace in his voice made her throat tight.
No.
Good. Let's keep it that way. Before she could respond, he was moving, scooping her off the table with fluid efficiency, carrying her toward the door. Put me down. When we're somewhere safe. He paused at the threshold. Taesung. The door opened immediately. Yes, sir? Clear the building. Service elevator to the parking garage. No witnesses. Already done, boss. They moved through sterile corridors like a military operation. Aisha caught glimpses of emptied nurses' stations, security guards who suddenly found other places to be, the organized chaos of Minjun's influence. The car waiting in the garage was armored, windows tinted black as midnight. He slid her into the back seat with careful precision, settling beside her before nodding to the driver. The estate, he commanded. Not the penthouse? Taesung asked from the passenger seat.
Too exposed.
She needs somewhere defensible. Minjun's gaze never left Aisha's face. Somewhere we can wait. Wait for what? For them to make their move. His smile was winter-sharp. My cousin has been remarkably quiet since Jinho died. That kind of silence means planning. The drive through Seoul's sprawling suburbs felt like traveling backward through time. Towering apartments gave way to gated communities, then to rolling hills where ancient money built its fortresses. Minjun's estate sprawled across manicured grounds like something from a historical drama. Traditional Korean architecture blended seamlessly with modern security. High walls, guard towers, men with guns trying to look like gardeners. Welcome to your new home, he said as they passed through electronically controlled gates. Prison, you mean? Sanctuary. He helped her from the car, his touch lingering longer than necessary. Until our children are born. The house's interior was a study in controlled luxury, dark woods, silk wallpaper, art that probably cost more than most people's houses. But it was the bars on the windows, disguised as decorative ironwork, that made Aisha's chest tight. Mrs. Kim will show you to your room, Minjun said, gesturing to an elderly woman who appeared as if summoned. Anything you need, ask her. What I need is to leave. Not happening. He was already moving toward what looked like an office, phone in hand. Dinner is at 8. Don't be late. Mrs. Kim bowed slightly, her English accented but clear. This way, please. The room they led her to was gorgeous. Silk curtains, a 4-poster bed that could sleep 6, windows overlooking gardens that probably hid a dozen snipers. It was also, Aisha noted with sinking heart, on the 3rd floor with no balcony access. Mr. Min has arranged for doctor visits, Mrs. Kim said, setting towels on an ornate dresser. Prenatal vitamins, special diet. Everything for healthy babies. How thoughtful of him. If the older woman caught the sarcasm, she didn't react. Bath is drawn. Rest now. Growing 3 babies is hard work. Alone at last, Aisha sank onto the bed and let the tears come. 12 weeks of careful planning, of building a life outside his reach, destroyed in minutes. The worst part was the treacherous relief flooding through her. The bone-deep exhaustion of constantly looking over her shoulder finally lifted. But relief came with a price. She'd seen the way he looked at her stomach, the possessive hunger that went beyond mere attraction. These babies weren't just his children. They were his leverage, his claim on her. The bath was perfect temperature, scented with jasmine and rose petals. She soaked until her skin pruned, trying to wash away the hospital smell and the memory of his hands on her body. When she emerged, new clothes waited on the bed, expensive maternity wear in exactly her size. The message was clear. He'd been planning this reunion long before today. Dinner was served in a dining room that could seat 20, though only 2 places were set at one end of the massive table. Minjun appeared promptly at 8, changed into casual clothes that somehow made him look more dangerous, not less. How are you feeling? He asked, holding her chair with old-world courtesy. Trapped. Hormonal, then. He sat across from her, apparently immune to her glare. Mrs. Kim says the doctor will visit tomorrow. Full workup, blood tests, nutrition consultation. And if I refuse? Why would you? He cut into a steak with surgical precision. These are your children too, Aisha. Don't you want them healthy? The question hit like a physical blow. Of course she wanted them healthy. She'd been taking vitamins religiously, avoiding alcohol and caffeine, reading every pregnancy book she could find. That's not fair, she whispered. Life rarely is. He set down his knife, studying her with those predator's eyes. But our children will have every advantage. The best medical care, the finest education, protection from everything that could hurt them. Including their own father? Have you ever felt this? Comment your experience and where you're watching from. The silence stretched taut as a wire. When he spoke again, his voice was carefully controlled. I know what you think of me. Cold-blooded killer, heartless monster. And you're not wrong. He reached for his wine glass, swirling the dark liquid. But I would die before letting harm come to what's mine. We're not possessions.
No.
Your family. The word seemed foreign on his tongue. And family is sacred, even to monsters. Something in his tone made her look closer. Beneath the polished surface, she caught glimpses of old wounds, carefully hidden scars. What happened to your family? His glass froze halfway to his lips. That's not your concern. It is if I'm carrying your children. She leaned forward, studying his face. If these babies are going to be part of your family, I need to understand what that means. For a moment, she thought he might answer. Then his mask slammed back into place, expression shuddering. Eat your dinner. The babies need protein. The rest of the meal passed in strained silence. Afterward, he escorted her back to her room with formal politeness that felt worse than anger. Tomorrow we'll discuss living arrangements, he said at her door. Schedules, security protocols, medical care. Cage maintenance, you mean? Protection. His hand moved to the doorframe, blocking her path. There are people who would kill for the chance to hurt you, Aisha. To hurt them. His gaze dropped to her stomach. Let me keep you safe. Standing this close, she could smell his cologne, see the faint scar along his jaw she'd traced with her fingertips that night. The memory hit like lightning, his mouth on hers, his hands tangled in her hair, the way he'd whispered her name like a prayer. You can't keep me prisoner forever, she managed. I can keep you alive. He stepped back, severing the connection. That's all that matters. The door closed between them with finality. Days blended into weeks in the strange bubble of the estate. The doctor visits confirmed what the ultrasound had shown, 3 healthy babies developing normally. Mrs. Kim fussed over nutrition and rest schedules. Minjun appeared for dinner each night, polite and distant, discussing everything except what mattered. Aisha found herself settling into routines despite her resentment. Morning walks in the garden under watchful guard. Afternoons reading in the library, a room filled with books in Korean, English, and Chinese. Evenings waiting for a man who treated her like delicate crystal he was afraid to break. It was during one of these evening rituals that everything changed. She'd finished dinner early, claiming fatigue, and was heading back to her room when voices drifted from Minjun's office. The door was slightly ajar, and she recognized Taesung's rumbling bass. Confirmed intelligence suggests they're planning to move soon. How soon? Minjun's voice was sharp. Within the week. Hyunwoo's been meeting with the Yakuza families, promising them territory in exchange for support. And the girl? Aisha's blood turned to ice. She pressed herself against the wall, hardly daring to breathe. The triplets will be his weakness, another voice said, one she didn't recognize. Kill her before they're born, and he'll be too broken to fight effectively. Smart play, Taesung admitted grudgingly. Take out his anchor before he can use it for leverage. Over my dead body, Minjun snarled. That might be the point, boss. They're not just targeting her. They want you unstable, grieving, making mistakes. Aisha's hands flew to her stomach protectively. These tiny lives growing inside her, barely the size of lemons, had already made her a target. Made her children targets before they could even draw breath. She backed away from the door on shaking legs, Minjun's earlier words echoing in her mind. There are people who would kill for the chance to hurt you. Now she understood. This wasn't just about power or territory or family betrayal. This was about using her unborn children as weapons against the man who'd claimed them all. There in the walls, Taesung's voice cut through the night like shattered glass. Aisha jolted awake as explosions rocked the estate, windows rattling in their frames. Emergency lighting bathed everything in hellish red as alarms screamed their electronic warning. Stay down. Minjun burst through her door, gun in each hand, tactical vest strapped over his bare chest. How long have the contractions been? What contractions? She started to sit up, then gasped as pain lanced through her abdomen. Oh God. 8 months. Stress can trigger early labor. He was already moving, pulling her from the bed with practiced efficiency. We need to get you to the safe room. Another explosion, closer this time. Plaster rained from the ceiling as the house shuddered like a wounded animal. How many? Minjun spoke into his throat mic, while supporting Aisha's weight. 15 confirmed, probably more. Taesung's voice crackled through static. They've got RPGs, automatic weapons. Professional team. Hyunwoo. Leading from the rear, like always. Minjun's expression turned murderous. Fall back to secondary positions. Buy me 10 minutes to get her secure. They moved through corridors that had become a war zone. Minjun's men crouched behind overturned furniture, trading gunfire with shadows. The acrid smell of cordite mixed with smoke from burning tapestries. Boss. A young guard stumbled toward them, blood streaming from a head wound. They breached the north wall. Yuki's down, sang Ho's. Bullets chewed the wall where his head had been. Minjun shoved Aisha behind a marble pillar, returning fire with mechanical precision. 3 shooters, second-floor balcony. He reported into his mic, someone handle it. The guard, barely 20, with nervous eyes, clutched his rifle like a lifeline. Sir, should I? Stay with her. Minjun checked his ammunition. Anyone gets past me, you know what to do. He meant kill her. Kill her rather than let enemies take her alive. The young guard's nod confirmed it. Another contraction hit as they reached the safe room, a reinforced bunker disguised as a wine cellar. Aisha doubled over, gripping the steel doorframe. How far apart? Minjun's voice was clinical, but she caught the fear underneath. I don't know. This just started. Mrs. Kim. He helped her inside, settling her on a cot that seemed prepositioned for exactly this scenario. Medical supplies, hot water, clean towels. The older woman was already moving, her hands steady despite the chaos above. I assisted births during the war, she said calmly. 3 babies I can manage. You're not managing anything. Minjun secured the door's multiple locks. We're getting her to the hospital. In this, Mrs. Kim gestured toward the ceiling as another explosion shook dust from the concrete. These babies come tonight, hospital or no hospital. Aisha felt the blood drain from her face. It's too early. They're not ready. 32 weeks is viable. Mrs. Kim was already checking supplies. Small, but strong if they're anything like their father. They'll be perfect. Minjun knelt beside the cot, his hand covering hers. Whatever happens up there, they'll be perfect. The tenderness in his voice nearly broke her. This man who killed without hesitation, who treated life like currency, spoke to her unborn children with reverence. Minjun. She gripped his hand as another contraction built. If something happens to me, nothing will happen. Promise me you'll protect them, even if I don't. Stop. His free hand cupped her face. You're not going anywhere. I won't let you. You can't control everything. Watch me. The lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in a heartbeat later, bathing them in amber light. Above, the gunfire intensified. Sir. The young guard's voice cracked. They're in the house. Taesung says maybe 5 minutes before they reach this level. Minjun stood, checking his weapons one final time. Then I go to them. No. Aisha struggled to sit up. You leave me and they win. That's what they want, you emotional, reckless, making mistakes. They want you dead. So let them try. Her voice strengthened despite the pain. But don't give them what they really want. Don't give them you broken. For a moment he wavered. Then footsteps echoed in the corridor outside. Heavy boots, military precision. Too late for debate. He moved to the door's weapon cache, pulling out additional ammunition. Whatever happens, stay quiet. Let them think this room is empty. The footsteps stopped outside. Whispered voices in rapid Korean. Found the wine cellar, someone said in English. Check it. The door handle turned.
Slowly. Testing.
Minjun pressed himself against the wall beside the entrance, gun raised. Aisha bit her lip against another contraction, tasting copper. The first man threw war tactical gear and moved like special forces. He never saw Minjun's knife until it slid between his ribs. The second man was smarter, diving back into the corridor. They're here. Safe room behind the wine racks. How many? The voice belonged to Hyunwoo, She recognized the family resemblance in his tone. 2 down. Minjun's inside with the woman. Perfect. Hyunwoo's laugh was ugly. Cousin, I know you can hear me. Send out the pregnant whore, and I'll make your death quick. Minjun's jaw clenched, but he remained silent.
No?
Then we'll smoke you out. Something metallic clattered across the floor outside. Aisha smelled chemical tang. Tear gas. Gas masks, Mrs. Kim hissed, already moving. But as Minjun reached for the equipment, Aisha saw her chance. The corridor door was still partially open. Hyunwoo stood just beyond the threshold, close enough to touch. Close enough to kill. She lunged, maternal instinct overriding common sense. Her shoulder caught Hyunwoo's center mass, sending him stumbling. His gun went flying as they crashed into the opposite wall. Aisha. Minjun's roar shook the foundation. Hyunwoo recovered first, hands reaching for her throat. But Aisha had grown up with brothers, had learned to fight dirty. Her knee found his groin with vicious accuracy. As he doubled over, she grabbed his fallen pistol. Move, and I'll paint the walls with your brain, she gasped, the weapon steady despite her shaking hands. You don't have the... She pulled the trigger. The bullet took off his earlobe, spraying blood across ancient stone. Next one goes between your eyes. Minjun appeared beside her, his expression caught between fury and awe. Are you insane? Protecting my family. Another contraction hit, stronger this time. She kept the gun trained on Hyunwoo despite the pain. Just like you taught me. Sir. Taesung's voice echoed from deeper in the house. Area secure. Hostile forces neutralized or retreating. All of them. Confirmed. Hyunwoo's team is finished. Minjun's cousin spat blood, glaring at them both. This isn't over. The Yakuza families won't forget. The Yakuza families will learn what happens when they threaten my children. Minjun's voice dropped to winter quiet. Just like you're about to. Wait. Aisha grabbed his arm as he raised his weapon. Not in front of them. Her free hand pressed against her stomach, where 3 tiny hearts beat their frantic rhythm. Even now, even unborn, she wouldn't let them witness murder. Something shifted in Minjun's face. Understanding. Maybe even respect. Taesung. Take out the trash. With pleasure, boss. As they dragged Hyunwoo away, Aisha finally allowed herself to collapse. The gun clattered to the floor as another contraction seized her, stronger than all the others combined. The babies. Her water broke in a rush of fluid and panic. They're coming now. Have you ever felt this? Comment your experience and where you're watching from. The next hours blurred together in a haze of pain and effort. Mrs. Kim proved herself a capable midwife, guiding Aisha through contractions that seemed to tear her apart and rebuild her stronger. Minjun never left her side. He held her hand through the worst moments, whispered encouragement in 3 languages, became her anchor in the storm of labor. First one crowning, Mrs. Kim announced. Big shoulders like his father. Him. Aisha gasped between pushes. Strong boy. Very impatient. Mrs. Kim's hands moved with practiced skill. One more push, dear. Let him meet his father. The world narrowed to a single point of effort. Then, suddenly, a tiny cry filled the room, strong, indignant, alive. Perfect, Minjun breathed, and Aisha heard tears in his voice. He's perfect. The second baby followed 20 minutes later, another boy, smaller but equally vocal. The third took nearly an hour, as if reluctant to leave the safety of the womb. Girl, Mrs. Kim announced, placing the tiny bundle on Aisha's chest. Smallest, but look at those eyes. She'll rule them all. Aisha stared down at her daughter, their daughter, and felt something fundamental shift in her chest. This fragile creature, no bigger than a loaf of bread, had survived explosions and gunfire to be born, had inherited her father's stubbornness and her mother's strength. They're so small, she whispered. They'll grow. Minjun sat on the cot's edge, reaching out to touch one miniature fist. Strong father, strong mother. They'll be giants. What do we name them? Whatever you want, His thumb traced their daughter's cheek with infinite gentleness. You earned the right to choose. Before she could answer, slow clapping echoed through the safe room. They both froze as a figure emerged from the shadows near the back wall, a man in an expensive suit, silver hair gleaming under the emergency lights. So this is the great Minjun's weakness. Aisha's blood turned to ice. She recognized him from the club. Kong Saiwan, the man who drugged her, started this whole nightmare. Impossible, Minjun breathed.
You're dead.
Tae-sung confirmed. Your pet dog confirmed what I wanted him to believe. Saiwan's smile was winter sharp. Amazing what makeup and prosthetics can accomplish these days. How did you get in here? The same way your little mouse got into your bedroom. Saiwan moved closer, and Aisha saw the gun in his hand. I've been planning this for months, cousin. Every detail, every contingency. Cousin. The word hit like a physical blow. Surprised? Your father had many secrets, including the bastard son he threw away like garbage. Saiwan's eyes glittered with old hatred. But bastards grow up. Learn patience. Wait for the perfect moment to take everything that should have been theirs. Minjun's hand moved toward his weapon, but Saiwan was faster. I wouldn't. Not with the babies so close. The gun's barrel gleamed in the amber light. Amazing how quickly things can end. 3 little heartbeats, stopped forever. Touch them, and I'll tear you apart with my bare hands. I'm counting on it. Saiwan's smile widened. Your rage will make you sloppy. Emotional. Just like when you fell for this little trap. He gestured toward Aisha, and she understood with horrible clarity. Not just the drugging, not just getting her into Minjun's room. Everything, the pregnancy, the attacks, the entire bloody chain of events, had been orchestrated by this man. The triplets were never supposed to survive, she realized. Smart girl. They were only meant to break him. Make him love something, so he could understand what loss truly meant. Saiwan raised the gun, aiming directly at the babies. Just like he broke me. Minjun moved, but Aisha was already there. Maternal instinct overrode everything else as she threw herself over her children, forming a human shield with her body. The gunshot was impossibly loud in the confined space. But the scream that followed wasn't hers.